Why do humans have shit left over on their ass after taking a poo, but most other animals do not? Modern-day humans eat a very poor diet filled with processed food, preservatives and not enough fiber. Also, many people are out of shape. Core exercises can strengthen your abs and help the logs move through your intestines better. Lastly, people tend to sit on a toilet instead of squatting, which is how we're supposed to release poop from our bungholes. Human bodies are a compromise. It's like we choose mid-spec on every option and biped for a giggle in character build. Every sense is mid-range. We are pretty weak for our size. We have no natural weapons, sharp teeth, claws or horns, but eat meat, and our reproduction system is so flawed it's a joke. Poorly placed genitals and pelvis too small for easy birth. We basically nerfed ourselves to get a big brain, and luckily it worked. Most animals don't have asses like humans do. Since we're bipedal, evolution had to do some trade-offs. Like butt cheeks. So when we poo, there's more skin for the poo to smear across. Sure, animals clean their butts, but not as much as humans do, in general. Animals do clean themselves, as others have mentioned, but I think a lot would have to do with our diets. Animals aren't eating McDonald's, pizza, fried foods, etc. Domesticated animals rely on their humans for feeding. Store-bought animal foods are designed with an animal's health in mind. In the wild, they eat high-fiber food that is provided by nature. I have a small poodle. There's times when he poops, and it sticks on his tail and fur, and all over my furniture. He stank like a mofo one time, only for me to find small soft poop on him. And he sat on my lap, and slept on my bed. I had to bleach everything. What's with white people in adventure sports? Money is probably the biggest reason, but culture probably adds to it, and there may even be a genetic element, risk-taker gene. Rich people tend to be white, and non-white rich people are generally very newly rich, and probably older, so are less likely to have started adventure sports young. European culture is more pro-risk than others. Long explanation, but look at history. This ties into the possible genetic element. Europeans in prehistoric times hunted things that could easily kill them as a regular food source. It's not only white people, but it's almost all white people. And there's nothing racist about observing reality. As some people have pointed out, there can be a higher cost for the equipment to get involved in some of those sports. But that doesn't account for anywhere near the discrepancy we see in participation rates. A big factor that some folks are uncomfortable acknowledging is that there are cultural differences between racial and ethnic groups. And those differences include recreational activities. Different cultures have different interests and activities that are passed from one generation to the next. While your observation that there are less POC in action sports may hold water, the rush of adrenaline is not the reason. It all comes down to BTE. Ski/snowboard, high BTE. Mountains in predominantly white communities. Limited POC role models for teens equals low POC count. Skateboarding, low BTE. Skate parks in all communities. Greater amount of POC role models equals higher POC count. BTE equals barrier to entry. Things like cost, location, learning curve, etc. This is for the amateur level. Access to higher level training facilities for the pro level is totally different topic. What were the most bizarre signs from women that liked you? When we were in high school, my birthday came and my friend told me it was time for birthday beats, but it wasn't just birthday beats. She began pummeling me with kicks and closed fists. Everywhere. As hard as she could. 16 times. Full out assault. I didn't get it at the time, but it was because she was angry that I didn't like her back. Initially this was because she was really intense and I was terrified of her, but I stopped in my tracks one day and realized that I was actually in love with her, but I wasn't confident, and despite even hooking up several times, I never told her, and I'll always regret it. Nowadays I won't date anyone who isn't intense enough. In college, I was walking to class one day and accidentally bumped into this girl. I apologized. She said no problem. And I went on my way to class. Didn't really think twice about it because that shit happens. She was pretty, but she was fairly memorable because she was really short, like 4 feet 10 inches, and had cotton candy pink hair. A few days later, walking to class and out from behind a bush, this girl jumps out in front of me with a "Hey," and "Quat." I must have had a WTF look on my face, and she immediately followed up with "Party at address tonight. You should come," and "Quat." Went to the party. We had a good time and hung out casually for a few weeks. My friend wanted to date her friend. So we started hanging out together. We were 4 guys and they were 3 girls. She always wanted to discuss every single thing with me. Anything I'd say. She was against it and had to discuss the matter. It was even harder to read because she had a boyfriend. After a few months I understood, and I told her that I didn't want her to cheat on her boyfriend with me. That I wanted her to be mine and that I wouldn't even kiss her if she didn't break up. A few weeks after that she broke up with her boyfriend and we started dating. What screams I'm a bad parent? Screaming at your children. I am all for disciplining children and correcting bad behavior. But screaming is beyond unnecessary and can cause trauma. Even when they grow up. Take it from someone who had screaming parents. I still suffer from it. Thankfully I have a much better relationship with them. But I'm still affected by it whenever I hear someone raise their voice. Hugging your kid while only ever looking at other people's reaction and the kid doesn't quite look that comfortable with it. Hugging the kid in a manner which looks like theater performance basically rather than actual affection. Only ever claiming their kid is the best and brightest and only ever talking about their school/studies and nothing else. Dismissing the kid's POV by default without even listening to anything the kid has to say. Recording your child while they're having a meltdown/tantrum and posting it on social media, for likes, clout, assurance or whatnots. No idea what they're thinking, instead of helping them to regulate their emotions and understand what causes the emotion, how to deal with it, and that there are appropriate ways to communicate your feelings. When you beat your kids over the slightest of mistakes, calling them stupid and being a raging alcoholic. A bad parent is also someone who screams at you and blames you for their mistakes and tells you you're a mistake that you were born. A bad parent is someone who treats you like an investment. Those who molest their kids. Those who drown in drugs and alcohol and neglecting their children. The infantilization of their children. Wanting them to stay helpless babies forever because they don't want them to grow up. I'm a nanny and it seems like a growing trend. It's one thing to engage in some infantile behavior or spoil your children a little. It's another thing to bend to every whim and not make your kids uncomfortable. Example with some kids I'm currently dealing with. Not potty training them.